Hey YouTube, it's Marita and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. And in this edition, we are going to talk about nursing and specifically a nurse's guide to calling the doctor. So if you want to know some tips that I would like to share regarding calling the doctor and being prepared to call the doctor, stay tuned.
Let it loose, let it go and away. Let it loose, let it go and away. Let it loose, let it go and away. You get it on, show the watch your way. Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch your heart, blow a kiss. Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch your heart, blow a kiss. Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch your heart, blow a kiss. Show them what they can't get. They're so bad that you'll bring this. Let me tell you about a thing or two to get your mind off. You know who. Doesn't matter really what you do, as long as you stay away from their old news.
And we're back. So I have some notes that I have taken, so you will see me look down from time to time. But I want to jump right in, and we're talking about some tips that you can use to be prepared to call the physician for the first time. So number one is to talk with another nurse. So this is important because if you don't know the doctor that well, or if you're just a new hire, a new nurse, new to a facility, then the other nurses may know that doctor better than you, or actually should know the doctor better than you, and would be able to know whether it's something that's worthy of calling him or her about. Is it something that can wait till, like if it's night shift, can it wait until the morning? Is it something that definitely needs to be passed on to the doctor to get new orders? Or maybe it's something that you're not sure about how to troubleshoot. So for instance, I have had situations where I couldn't get someone to void. And so I asked another nurse about calling the doctor, and she said, no, I have a trick. Let's see if this trick works. And sure enough, she used her trick, and the trick worked. We didn't have to call the physician at all. So that was great because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So always use your resources, such as your other nurses, to find out if it's something that's worthy to be called, something that he or she would like to know, or just any other suggestions they may have in terms of troubleshooting that situation that you may have. Number two, check your orders. So a lot of the times you're calling for medications that may already be either on standing orders, floor orders, or the PRN orders anyway. And the last thing you want to do is call the physician about something he or she has already written an order for. He or she will be very upset with you. So check your orders first. Make sure you do not have whatever you're looking for available. Prime example, this happened to me where a patient wanted something for gas, as an example. The doctor that came by and actually doing his rounds that day, and I said she would like something for gas, and he was like, well, I already ordered something for gas. I said, it's not on your profile. You do not have it ordered. It may have fallen off or something happened, but it is not on your profile. So he was adamant about the fact that he had already had ordered this medication, and I went and showed him on the computer where it was not there. It had fallen off evidently. Computer glitch, something happened, I don't know. Nonetheless, the patient didn't have the medication that she wanted. So he was then like, oh, okay, I'm sorry for, basically accusing you of not really looking at what you needed to look at. And so anyway, we ordered the medication as she wanted, and there was not a problem. But my point is, go ahead and look at your medications to make sure that there is truly not an order for it or something else that you can use as a substitute. So when it comes to certain things, like I have patients who complain of radiating pain. And a lot of times the radiating pain from a C-section surgery is gas pains. And I have to explain to my patients that Lortab, for instance, does not fix gas pains. Those are two different kinds of pains. So we have to make sure we have the right medication on board. So therefore, I always make sure they get the right medications. And so I'm typically proactive about getting my medications and making sure I have everything I need in case they happen to need something that is not ordered. I can call ahead of time and say, hey, I just want to make sure we have this on board in case we need it. That way I don't have to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning for something like this. Number three, focus on why you're calling. Now, this kind of ties back into tip number one with talking to a coworker. Sometimes a doctor wants to know everything about the patient. They want to know date of birth. They want to know what room they in, what procedure they had, this, that, and the other. And some want to know less. Sometimes they just want you to get straight to the point. What is it that you need? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What do you need? You kind of have to know the doctor to know what they really want, but have all your material together so that you'll know what you're asking for specifically. Number four, provide a good SBAR. So SBAR, as you know, is situation, background, assessment, and the R is recommendation. So you told them what's going on. You told them the background. You told them what your assessment is for this patient situation. And now you need to provide a recommendation or listen for them to give you a recommendation. Typically, the nurse provides the recommendation. That's part of an SBAR. However, depending on the physician, if you're a new nurse, you may not know what the recommendation is. So therefore, you may need to listen to him or her and find out what orders you need to get. It is not your job to write the order or to come up with the order. It's just to kind of facilitate that process. So for instance, I may have a patient who had a low H&H, a low hemoglobin and hematocrit. And so the doctor may say, go ahead and transfuse 2 units of packed red blood cells. So I go ahead and do that. And then I say, okay, this is the recommendation part. Would you like me to call you, or would you like to do a 4-hour post-transfusion lab draw of an H&H? And that's the recommendation. I'm not telling him or her what to do, but typically that is what we do. In case he or she was not thinking about it, that was the recommendation. So then a doctor may say, yeah, I think that'll be a good idea. Then I'll say, do you want me to call you with the results? He or she may say, only call me if they're critical, or call me either way, or whatever they may want to do. That's the recommendation part of the SBAR. So even though I can't write the order, the doctor writes the order. I'm just saying, would you like this to happen? That's the recommendation. The next tip is when you are on the phone with the doctor, ask for clarification and do a read back. So clarification basically means you want to know specifically what somebody was saying, or you want them to have 250 milligrams of Tylenol, or you want them to have, in addition to that, scheduled Lortab, which has Tylenol in it, or is the Lortab PRN and the Tylenol scheduled? So keep in mind, that's the critical thinking part there. You only have a daily limit of 4,000 milligrams of acetaminophen that a patient can get in a day. So if they're scheduled to get Tylenol and then they're also scheduled to get Lortab, that can make it where they will max out of their daily limit. So therefore, you want to get a clarification in that situation. And what a read back is, so when a doctor provides you an order, so let's just say, no, I want them to have 250 milligrams of Tylenol every 4 hours, and I want them to have Lortab Q4 hours as needed for pain. So then what I would say is, okay, you said 250 milligrams Q4 hours and Lortab for every 4 hours as needed for pain. That is what's called the read back. So I'm repeating to the doctor what he or she said to make sure that we are both on the same page. And I actually document in my documentation that a read back was performed. The next one is have all of your information when you're calling the physician. So I'm kind of going out of order, but have all your information. So basically that means when I'm getting ready to call a doctor, I have my latest set of vital signs sitting right there. I will go ahead and have up any labs. I'll just have the computer open to the screen that has our lab results. I'll have the vital signs pulled up. I'll have their history pulled up in case they ask those kind of questions. I'll have the MAR pulled up. Usually we have a click system where I can just click between different tabs where I can see these different things. But I like to have everything already pulled up because the last thing they want to do is wait for you to log on to the computer to go access these records. So they may say, okay, well, what was their hematocrit? What was their CBC? I want to know about their WBC. What was that on this date? And if you haven't even logged in yet, it's going to take you, it seems like 10 minutes, but it doesn't take that long. But nonetheless, they're not that patient. So most of them are not that patient. So you want to have everything ready, vital signs ready, laid out so you can just spell them all out for them. You want to basically present your case as to why you're calling. You want to be able to simply say, this is what's going on with your patient. I want to then follow up with the SBAR. And then this is what I feel that we should do. Is it something that you would like to do? And then either they're going to give you an order or they're not. And then you're going to do a read back if they do give you an order. If they do not give you an order, then you simply document in your charting that you did call the physician, you did discuss whatever the matter happened to be, and that in this case, no orders were received. And that way that kind of clears you if something comes up later on where the patient gets worse and then someone wants to kind of pin you under the bus and say, well, you never told me. Like, no, I have it in my charting right here, my documentation, that I called you and you didn't want to do anything about it. So make sure you have good documentation as well. And then the last one is this. Sometimes you'll call a physician and he or she does not call you back. So what do we do in that situation? So it depends on your hospital's protocol or policy. So for us, we will call and then we log it. So we basically document that we called. And for us, we actually call or page our doctors through the operator. That way we have a third party, so to speak, involved. That's how we do it at our facility. I'm not telling you all to do that if that's not what you do at your facility. But we have the operator page that physician and say to return the call to the floor that I'm on. And that way it's documented, it's logged for the nurse when she does her charting. And then it's also logged for the operator when they actually make the phone call. So that way we have a paper trail, shall I say, of when this doctor was notified. So after about 15-20 minutes, if I have not heard back from the doctor yet, I call the operator again and I'll say, could you please page this doctor again? I also verify while I'm on the phone with the operator that this is the correct doctor who's on call, because sometimes they didn't call back because they're not on call. So I verify that they're the correct person on call. But after I do that, we have them call again. And then after that, you do that for about, say, 2 to 3 times. I think I did that for up to an hour one time because it was not emergent. It was just something I had to call about. Wasn't really even urgent. It was just something that needed to be followed up on. So with that being said, I think I did that for about an hour. And after that, I went to my management and simply said, hey, I've been trying to call this doctor for the past hour. They have not returned my phone call. And this is what's going on with the patient. Nothing urgent's going on. But at the same time, I want to make sure that somebody else knows besides me and the operator that this doctor has been we have tried to notify this physician and they're not returning our phone calls. And after that, depending on the situation, the management will handle that. Now, if it's night shift, then you would talk to the house supervisor and see what's going on in terms of they will kind of follow up with it. Sometimes, though, you have to call your manager at night at home to say, this is the situation, especially if it's something that's emergent. You have to call someone. Someone has to know, so this physician or a physician on call could come in and actually attend to whatever's going on. So those are just a few tips that you can govern you when it's time to call the physician regarding a decline in a patient situation, a change in status, pain that's not resolved, or any other reason why you would need to call a physician. Now, I did not mention, if it's something that's going on with your patient and he or she is declining but not for a code, then typically there's plans in place for you to call rapid response. And typically when you call rapid response, you're not calling the doctor first. You're calling rapid response first. But again, you need to follow your hospital's protocol regarding rapid response, calling physicians and things like that. This video was strictly about calling the physician and having everything kind of ready for a non-emergent but yet urgent situation. So if you are new to my channel, then I want to say thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll know the next time that I upload. If you have been tried and true, thank you for your continued support. Please watch other videos, see what's going on in the other videos. And until the next time, you all take care.